Hello, I'm Phil N8VB, and in this video I will give you an introduction to the SDRMAX 5 software for the QS1R receiver. So let's get started. I've started SDRMAX 5, and the first thing that you'll see is the SDRMAX 5 server window. To open the graphical user interface, just type GUI at the server command line and hit enter. Now each button control generally has a tooltip associated with it. You can hover your mouse over a button, for example, and the tooltip pops up and displays a brief explanation of what the button or control does. Now I'm going to go over each button and control in the main window and describe its function. The Run button starts the software receiver. If I click on it, see the receiver will start up. I'm going to mute it for now. The next button, Set, opens the miscellaneous settings window. And in this window you can adjust various settings. I'll go over these settings in a future video in detail. To close the settings window, you can either click on the Close button on the window, or just click on Set again and the window will close. The R/P button opens the recording and playback window. In this window you can record to your hard disk at whatever sample rate you have set. For example, now I have a sample rate of 250 kilosamples per second set in the 40-meter ham band. Now, if, for example, I wanted to record the entire AM broadcast band, I could set my sample rate to the highest 2.5 megasamples per second, and I will go to the AM broadcast band, kind of center it here. That looks good. And now with the record playback window, I could record the entire AM broadcast band to disk and then play it back later. I could also, for example, record an entire ham band to disk and play it back later. For example, now I've selected 40 meters again, and I'm going to set a sample rate of, let's see, 625 kilosamples per second. And you can see I'm spanning the complete 40-meter ham band here, and it can be recorded to disk and played back later, for example in a contest. The band button opens the band selector window, and it's just a quick way of selecting which band you want to receive, both shortwave and ham bands. For example, if I want to quickly select the 80-meter ham band, I can select 80 meters. You can see the VFOs changed to the 80-meter ham band. 40 meters, 10 meters. I can select the shortwave bands that I'm interested in, like 41 meters, for example, 25 meters. And there's also some presets for the various WWV frequencies. For example, 10 megahertz, 15. I can also directly enter a frequency. Say I wanted 7.8 50, and I entered it in megahertz, so I want to select the megahertz button. And you can see I've tuned to 7.850 megahertz, which is CHU in Canada. And again, I can either close the window with the close button in the window or just press the band button again. The next two buttons, Noise Blinker 1 and Noise Blinker 2, turn on or off the various noise blinkers available. If I click on Noise Blinker 1, it's enabled, and it also opens the noise settings window, which allows you to adjust the level of Noise Blinker 1. Now this window is also used to set the level of Noise Blinker 2, noise reduction, and automatic notch filter. You can see they have entries here with their level settings. I can close this window by clicking on Close here or the X button. Now if I want to enable Noise Blinker 2 also, you'll see the window opens again if it was closed, and Noise Blinker 2 is enabled. Same way with noise reduction and automatic notch filter. They're all adjusted from the noise settings window here. The notch filter button opens the notch selection window, which allows you to place up to 8 manual notch filters within your filter passband. You enable the notches by clicking next to them. You control their center frequency by either using the up and down arrows, your mouse scroll wheel, or directly entering the frequency in your keypad. Works the same way with bandwidth. You can use the up-down arrows, scroll wheel, or direct entry from the keypad. To close the notch selection window, we just click on the close button here, or we can also click on the notch button once again and it'll close the window. The mute button mutes or unmutes the receiver audio. I used it earlier to mute the audio. You can see it's unmuted now. I'll mute it again. The bin mode turns on or off the binaural mode of the receiver. This gives you a stereo or a spatial effect if you're using stereo speakers or stereo headphones. It works in lower sideband, upper sideband, and double sideband, as well as the synchronous AM modes. This is with the bin off, and that's with bin on, and bin off again. I don't know if you could tell any difference in the video, but it gives it a spatial effect to the audio. Post PS button opens the post power spectrum window, which shows you the spectrum within the filter bandwidth you have set. We have right now 3000 Hertz. Also in this window you can see the AGC current gain, which changes with signal level, and the AGC threshold, which I'll show you how to set here in a moment. This window can be positioned anywhere you want on the screen. It can be positioned side by side with the main spectrum window or on a second monitor above or below the main window if you want. The software will remember the position of the windows once set, so when you restart the software, those windows will be in the same place. The WB window or button opens the wideband spectrum view window, which shows the 0 to 62.5 megahertz full frequency coverage of the receiver. You can see there's some activity, it looks like, in the 10-meter ham band, A lot of activity in the CB band, some activity on 15 meters. This is the AM broadcast band. Here you can see I have a band stop filter in place to attenuate the AM broadcast band. You can see that it's kind of notched out right here. There's also some strong signals on the various shortwave bands. The MEM button opens the memory window. Here you can add new memory channels, recall memory channels. It saves the frequency, the mode, the filter settings, the date it was created, and the description. For example, if I want to recall memory 7, which is WWV on 10 megahertz, I just click on 7 here, and you can see, unmute here so you can hear it. You can see that WWV was selected. I'll go back to the 40 meter ham band. You can enter descriptions for your saved channels by double clicking in the description box and just typing in some text. I'll just enter that, and you can see there it is in the list. You can also delete memories here too. For example, I'll select this one I just edited, click delete, and it's gone. You can close the window with the close button or by pressing the memory button here again. The V-lock button locks the VFO so that if you click on it or scroll your mouse wheel or try to tune, it just isn't going to happen. Works just like the frequency lock button on a conventional rig. The SQ button is the squelch button, and you can turn on and off the squelch here. Now I've turned it on. You can see the button is highlighted. I'm going to unmute the receiver for a second, and you see another needle was added to the S meter. This is actually the signal strength setting, the threshold setting for the squelch. So if I put my mouse pointer over the needle and hold down my left mouse button and move this pointer over here, you can see that now the receiver is squelched. If I move it down a little bit lower here, you can see when the signal strength drops below this point, the squelch is active. And I can turn off the squelch by clicking on that button again. The mode buttons below just select the demodulation mode. You have AM, synchronous AM, lower sideband, double sideband, upper sideband, CW, FM narrow, and digital mode. Go back to lower sideband. The filter button, FILT button, opens the filter window, which lets you select from some fixed presets on the filter widths. For example, I can choose 2800. You can see my filter is now gone to 2800 hertz, 2100, 3500, all the way up to 12K. It just makes it convenient to quickly set your filter bandwidth. Clicking on the filter button will close this window. The store button is just a quick memory button to store your current operating frequency, mode, filter settings into memory. By just clicking the store button, it actually enters your current frequency, which was 7.150, into the memory database. You can see I just created it here. This control allows you to select the sample rate of the receiver. You can select sample rates from 25 kilosamples per second all the way up to 2.5 megasamples per second. Right now I have 250 kilosamples per second selected.
Below that.
This controls the volume control for the receiver.
Too much difference between the MD100 one.
This is the AGC decay speed setting. You can select from very fast AGC decay to very slow. If you slide this slider all the way over to the left, the last setting to the left, it uses a fixed AGC gain. You can set this AGC gain, this fixed gain, using the set button, the AGC tab. You can see it's set AGC fixed gain for 70 decibels. You can change that if you want. The VFO step control affects the various tune modes of the receiver. Right now you can see I have it set for 500 Hertz. For example, if I go up to the VFO and hover my mouse pointer over it and scroll my mouse wheel, you can see I begin to tune in steps of 500 Hertz. That matches the VFO step size. If I change it to 100 Hertz, you'll see now I'm tuning in steps of 100. This also affects all the tuning modes. For example, the drag tuning mode, you can see as I drag the tuning pointer here that I'm actually tuning in steps of 500 Hertz. It's snapping to the nearest 500 Hertz. Also, if I use the click tune mode, like for example I see a signal here and I click on it, you'll see that it snapped to the nearest 500 Hertz there, and that's all controlled by the VFO step size. The filter step size controls the steps used when I'm setting the filter by dragging it. You can drag the upper and lower limit of the filter by hovering your mouse over the filter box here and holding down your left mouse button and dragging right or left. You can see now, if you look up in the VFO window, you can see that I'm tuning in steps of 100 Hertz as I'm dragging. This is also true of the lower end of the filter. See, I can tune that in 100 Hertz steps. I can also change the filter by right or left clicking over these filter labels. For example, if I left click over this one, you can see the filter is getting wider by 100 Hertz steps. Now it's narrowing down by 100 Hertz steps because I'm right clicking. Same way with the lower end of the filter. As I right click, it's going on 100 Hertz steps. And if I left click, it's also changing those steps. If I change to 500 Hertz steps, for example, you can see the filter now is tuning in steps of 500 Hertz. This label shows the actual filter width. taking into account the settings for the high and low filter edges. You can see set for minus 300 or 3000 hertz, minus 100 hertz, and that gives you a filter bandwidth of 2900 hertz. Now if you have a Griffin PowerMate knob attached to your computer, this control will show up called knob step. If you don't have a Griffin PowerMate, this control's hidden, you won't see it. What this allows you to do is use the Griffin PowerMate knob to tune the receiver, and this sets the step size of the receiver. For example, if I select 100 hertz and I'm going to reach over and start spinning my PowerMate knob, you can see that the radio is now tuning in steps of 100 hertz. I can also tune the center frequency of the receiver in steps of 100 hertz also, and that's just a selection by pushing the knob down and selecting either VFO tune mode or offset tune mode with the PowerMate. Now the SDRMAX 5 software talks directly to the PowerMate hardware, so you don't have to worry about focus issues like you do in some other SDR software. The knob always will control SDRMAX 5's frequency, whether you are using your logging program or you're browsing the internet or whatever. You can see in the S meter that there's a green needle. That's the AGC threshold setting. I'll enable my audio here, and you can see if I click on and drag the needle, my AGC threshold increases and decreases. I can set it to wherever I want.
I think it's what, the week before Thanksgiving, isn't it?
You can also see that the S meter displays S units as well as dBm. It has a real-time dBm display and microvolt display also. In the VFO, you can make large frequency changes by hovering over one of the digits and right or left clicking to increase it or decrease it. For example, if I want to go to the 10 meter ham band, I can just click and there I am. It's a fast way to enter the frequency. If I want to go back to 40 meters, I can go pretty quickly that way. You can also, if you have your mouse pointer over the VFO window and scroll your mouse wheel, you can also tune the center frequency that way. If you hover over the VFO label and click on it with your left mouse button, you see it'll go to tune mode, and what it displays is not the VFO frequency but the offset frequency that I'm tuning here within the spectrum. You can see that it's 7214. It's the same reading here as where I'm tuned here. And if I click on tune, it changes back to VFO mode, and what it displays is my VFO center frequency again. And that's where the VFO is tuned to. Now in the spectrum window, you can right click, and there's some various settings that you'll want to explore. One is show settings, and this allows you to adjust the min and max level of the spectrum, You can select auto baseline for spectrum, which will automatically set the baseline, or you can adjust it manually. Averaging for the spectrum can be set here. Zoom level, you can zoom in, zoom out. You can close the setting window by clicking on the close button over here. Same way with the waterfall window. You can select a different palette, or you can open the little settings window for it, which you can set the gain and threshold of the waterfall. You can close the setting window there. There's a divider. You can either just see the by dragging all the way down, you can see just the spectrum, or you can drag up and see a lot of waterfall and adjust that to however you want your display to look. If you move your mouse pointer over to this dBm scale on the spectrum window, the center box here that's being highlighted, if you scroll your mouse wheel up and down, you'll see that it's changing the step size of the grid on the spectrum window. You can also change the maximum level by highlighting the upper box here. You can see as I'm scrolling my mouse wheel, it's changing. And I can also set the minimum level, which you can see if I highlight this box by just putting the mouse pointer down here in the corner and scrolling up and down, I can adjust the minimum level of the spectrum window. Now up here in the menu bar, you see some various selections. A setup, if you click on it, you can set your recording path for your IQ recording. You can change it and it'll be remembered on the next startup. Audio setup basically opens the audio dialog box just like typing setup audio in the server did when we initially set up SDRMAX 5.
Pretty decent signal here, I don't want to hear it 100%. Alright, Randy, stand by.
The options menu lets you turn on the auxiliary frequency display, which displays both the VFO center frequency and the offset tune frequency at once. I'm going to scrunch this window up here a little bit to fit it in my recording space here. But you can see now as I change my offset tune, you can see it changing in the lower box. And if I change my VFO center frequency, you see it changing in the upper box also. Now down here in the status bar in the corner here, your date and time in UTC and local time will always be displayed. This is kind of a convenient little clock here. To exit the software, you can just you can either click on the run button to stop the receiver from running, or it's not really necessary. You can leave it running and click on the close button in the main window, and the graphical user interface will close, and you can close then the SDRMAX 5 server window by just clicking on the close, or you can type exit and return. It doesn't really make any difference. Both do the same thing. You'll see it's quitting and it's gone.